This is Steve Jewin for MMA Mania. This interview with Jarod Trice was recorded on November 21st, 2016. He will be debuting at Bellator 167 on December 3rd. Steve Jewin, MMA Mania.
All right, you are now on with Steve Jewin of MMA Mania. Go ahead, Steve.
All right, well,
So I'm grateful this morning, man. How about yourself?
I'm just fantastic right now. I'm really happy to be doing interviews today, and I'm happy to be talking to a very promising young man who's going to make big waves in Bellator. They got you set for a Bellator 167 debut against Brandon Lee. How are you feeling about that fight right now?
Oh, I heard it's not Brandon Lee anymore, man. It's Brandon Lee backed out of the fight. I heard I got another guy named Tommy. I don't know his name. I think his first name's Tommy or something. Brandon Lee backed out of the fight like last week.
I guess he's running scared then. Maybe he thought, well, this Jarod Trice is too big for me to handle.
I guess so, man. That's word on the street.
Are you phased at all that you've had this late change of opponent? Does it change your game plan for the fight at all?
Not at all, man. My game plan stays the same, man. Go in, dominate, put on the show, man, for the fans, man. That's the game plan, you know. Taking it one day at a time and believing in my coaching and my training, man, and put me through the process of winning this fight.
I want to ask you about something. They sent me details, and then I did a little research on top of that. And one of the things I came across was that you'd spent some time at the Cyclone Wrestling Club. And since I'm an Iowa State graduate, that piqued my interest right away. Can you tell me a little bit about your time there?
It was a great experience. I had a great experience, man, working with KJ and Trent Paulson, man. It was a great time. I originally went there, man, to help out my one of my baby boys, man, from Highland Park, a kid that I help learn wrestling and just growing up. He's actually the heavyweight at Iowa State right now. That's why I originally went there. And like I said, man, I had a great time there training. I learned a lot of things from Kevin Jackson on especially about preparing for matches, mental toughness. KJ fought in the UFC back in the day, so you know. We talked a lot about fighting as well.
You're new on the scene and you're making a big splash, and you're coming in right after we've seen big splashes from Ed Ruth and Tyrell Fortune. So do you feel any additional pressure to follow in their footsteps?
Not at all, man. Tyrell's actually my training partner out here, man. I can't worry about the other man, you know? Like, I just got to worry about me and do what I have to do for myself, you know? It's only me out there. There's no pressure. There's no pressure for me. I'm not gonna say there's no pressure, but there's low pressure for me. But I'm not gonna worry about what they did. I'm just gonna worry about what I'm gonna go do out there when I go fight.
Since you do train with Tyrell, let me ask you a little what you thought about his performance, because he seemed to have no trouble out there. It looked virtually effortless for him.
I actually think Tyrell should have let that guy stand up so he could show off his hands a little more. He's been training with me for a few months now, man. I talked to him to come to my film, and he finally came in and he checked it out, and he liked what he saw, and he saw fast how good my hands got so fast, so he wanted a part of it. So, like I said, man, I think Tyrell should have let him up a little, let him up just to beat him up with his hands a little more. But, you know, it was a dominating finish for Tyrell, and same for Ed, man. Ed did really well, too.
There's a really big focus right now from Bellator on signing great collegiate wrestlers, All-American wrestlers, outstanding credential Olympic-level wrestlers. Seems like they've put a big initiative into that this year, and we're seeing those dividends pay off.
Yeah, man, I think it was a great idea, man, to bring us in early, to build us up as stars, man, as MMA. I think it's a great opportunity for us, and it's a great opportunity for Bellator to invest in our future. So I'm happy with the decision. I'm happy with Bellator and everything that they've helped me with so far.
Do you think wrestlers coming in with your skill set, with the skill sets we've seen from others like Ruth and Fortune, do you think you have a natural advantage just with that great wrestling base over other kinds of fighters?
I do, man. But you know, the hardest thing for most guys who are wrestlers they come in, you know, and the hardest thing for them is like the transition of the boxing standpoint and the kickboxing, you know. And it's a lot. It takes a lot of. Some guys take a little longer than others to get their hands right to make them want to fight, you know. But I feel that we all have an advantage with our background of wrestling. Being able to take a guy down when we want to. But more of me, man, I'm going to be more of a type of guy who's going to be ready to let his hands go, man. I actually like stand up. I'm a huge fan of boxing, so I'm going to be more of a type of guy who's going to let my hands go a little more than relying on the wrestling, you know. But I'm not going to let that bother the winner, man, because wrestling is always going to be my background, you know.
Right, and when things go wrong in a match, if the hands aren't working, you can always go back to that wrestling because it's always going to be there for you.
Exactly.
Are there any strikers that you watched stylistically? You mentioned both kickboxing and boxing. Were there any guys that you thought I can pick up techniques from when you saw them?
Mostly boxing, man. Techniques that who I watch the most, man. Out of the three boxers that I watch the most, man, I probably watch Floyd Mayweather. I watch Floyd Mayweather quite a bit. Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson. I'm a huge fan of all three of those guys, man, and I love their style of boxing. So it's three different styles of boxing if you keep up with boxing, man. And those are totally different styles, you know. And I'm a huge fan of all three.
Well, for me, Tyson was always the super aggressive fighter who came out and tried to finish real quick. And whereas Lennox was more of the scientific guy, and Floyd is the guy who just makes everybody look bad because nobody can lay a glove on him.
Exactly, man. He perfected the game, man. He just changed it all, you know. He perfected. He made boxing. Well, boxing is. Boxing is to hit and not get hit. And most guys want to see a fall. That's what most guys want to do. Fall. But like I said, man, I'm excited either way, man. Like I can get in there and ball. I can be a finesse type of guy. Whatever I have to do to win.
I know you said you want to let the hands go and show fans what you can do with that, but you're not necessarily pressured to feel the knockout. If it comes, it comes, and if not, you'll be happy to go in there and show off your evasiveness and how to hit and not get hit.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. I'm not. It's not like, you know, like from what I've heard, from most of the guys, man, top guys in the MMA, like you always like you can't really like go in and think like, you know, you get a knockout. He says most guys tell me like the knockout usually comes when you're not really looking for it, you know. So, either way, man, I plan on getting a finish, man. Like everyone else got a finish. I mean, I want to get a finish too, but I want to be the first one. I don't want all of us to get a knockout finish, you know.
Yeah, then you set a new standard that everybody's going to have to come back and repeat your performance instead of you having to repeat theirs.
Exactly.
All right. Well, since you've got a new opponent and it's a new matchup for you, it's going to be unpredictable and exciting for us too, watching it and covering it. But I know you probably like to take that win and bank it and go on down the road to other things in Bellator. So do you have any future opponents that you'd like to match up with?
What was that?
Is there any guys that you look at in your division in Bellator and say, that's a guy I'd like to try myself with?
So like, who am I thinking about for like my first main card type deal?
Exactly.
Ishii.
That would be a very interesting fight with his judo background and your wrestling background. That's a hell of a matchup.
Yeah, I don't think he has hands though, so.
I don't know.
I respect him. I respect him a lot, man. He's got a good judo and pressure guy. Like he presses guys on the cage really well, and he controls those type of positions. But I don't think he can do that really with the wrestlers much.
No, and honestly, I was surprised he did it as much as he did with Rampage, given his wrestling background. I thought Rampage would tear him up.
Rampage doesn't really have a wrestling background. He's more of a stand-up boxing type guy. But I think Ishii felt that power from him, man, off a little jab or a little hook that Rampage threw at him early in the fight, and then it just kind of scared him away, you know. And he just wanted to grab
I guess I'm wrong then, because I thought Rampage did some wrestling in high school, but yeah, he does kind of have more of a brawling style in general.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. High school wrestling is totally different from collegiate and national team wrestling. You know,
Well, that's
it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different, like, it's completely different. Not even close.
yeah. Well, I think you could go on and say, you know, it's like the difference between collegiate and Olympic. It's that big of a gap. You know, you can't. One's not even the same as the other.
Correct.
Now, speaking of which,
100%.
when you were first announced as being signed with Bellator, it was touted that, you know, this is an Olympic level wrestler. So are there any thoughts in like 4 years of trying out for the Olympics?
2020, man, I'm not really thinking about wrestling anymore, man. But it's more of if I did do it, the only way I would go back to Greco wrestling or any style of wrestling if it was to be for if they was to continue to keep the rules as they are right now with no forced parterre and all when you see the wrestling. Those are the rules right now. They just switched them about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. If the rules say that by 2020, I might consider it coming back and making a comeback in wrestling. But other than that, man, I'm really totally, completely focused on MMA 100% and making a name for myself and fighting instead of wrestling.
All right. Well, making a name for yourself is what you're going to do at Bellator 167 WinStar World Casino and Resort, Thackerville, Oklahoma, December 3rd, with a brand new opponent. It's no longer Brandon Lee. It's Tommy something or other. And it's still going to be an exciting fight, and hopefully it'll get aired on Spike TV's main card, just like the previous wrestlers we've seen who made their debuts on the prelims. I expect an exciting fight, and you'll get bonused.
Yep. You can just call it Tommy Goes Down.
Tommy Goes Down. I like that. Whatever his last name is, Tommy Goes Down in this fight. And before I let you go, Jarod, anything you want to plug? Social media, teammates, anything you want to get out there?
Yeah, man. My social media for Twitter is IM_Dough, DOUGH. And my Instagram is Reckless, WREQLESS_Dawg, DAWG, the number 1.
All right. Everybody be sure to follow those accounts on social media so you can keep up with Jarod Trice as he makes his Bellator debut on December 3rd. Thank you so much for the time today, Jarod. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Dan, as well.